the oath of offices. So, Casey, if you'd like to step forward. When I get to there, you can say I will, and yes, or whatever.
Okay.
So if you want to raise your right hand. I, Casey S. Hansen, do swear affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of the state so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof.
I will.
I, Casey S. Hansen, do swear affirm that I will faithfully discharge all the duties incumbent upon me as city councillor for the city of Ellsworth according to the Constitution and laws of the state and the charter and ordinances of the city.
I will.
You can go ahead and sign. Thank you. All right, Stephen O'Halloran, you can step right forward. Okay, so when we get to where you can just say I will, I do, whatever you're right, then I get down here to do the same thing. All right, so you can raise your right hand. I, Stephen E. O'Halloran, do swear affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof.
I will.
I, Stephen E. O'Halloran, do swear affirm that I will faithfully discharge all the duties incumbent upon me as city councillor for the city of Ellsworth according to the Constitution and laws of the state and the charter and ordinances of this city.
I will.
You can go ahead and sign. Thank you. Okay, so the next order of business is selection of chairperson for the ensuing year. I'll open the nominations for chair.
I nominate Councilor Hamilton.
Second.
Third.
Move nomination cease.
Okay, so I'll call for a vote, since there's just one nominee. All those in favor of Hamilton?
Anyway, sit next to you anyway. All right, well, before we get into the agenda, first, welcome officially to two new members. Their emails will be up and running anytime now, so just want the public to know that.
Mr. Chairman, before we get into the meat of the agenda tonight, I'd like to make a motion that we switch items 8 and 10 in the order that we take them up, please.
So you have a motion to move two agenda items, number 8 and 10. Is there a second? You just want to swap the order?
Yeah.
Second.
Motion and second. So, any discussion? All right, no discussion. All those in favor of changing the order? All those opposed? Any abstentions? I guess it's unanimous. We will switch the order of 8 and 10. All right. Item number 4, time and place for regular monthly meeting. This was something that we had earlier in the year had discussed about moving the time, and we said we would bring it back to the organizational meeting. So that's what is reflected here. So just would open it up for any discussion on that item.
Well, all the rest of the things that happen in Ellsworth happen at 6 p.m. The school board happens at 6 p.m. All of our committee meetings happen at 6 p.m. I think they should all just happen at 6 p.m. So I think we should move it to 6 p.m.
My concern with that, with changing it, is it will greatly affect, could greatly affect public attendance. people that get out of work at 5:15, 5:30, by the time they get home, change if they need to, and then drive here, they would not be here in time.
Well, we keep it uniform, and all the other meetings
I-
happen at 6 PM.
The school department and
The
their,
committee meetings as well,
they're
our committee.
they're completely different. I have no control over them. A lot of the committee meetings we do it at 6 PM. The council meeting for decades has been at 7, and I would not vote in favor of changing the time. I'm not looking to make it more difficult for people to attend.
I'm not looking to make it more difficult. I'd like to see it uniform and maybe not go so late at night. Maybe people want to not be up so late at night either, so they can get up for work the next day.
Well, and that can be, that's a possibility also. But the old adage, careful what you wish for, comes into my mind here.
Any other,
I would be good with 6 PM, or if it stays the same, I don't care either way, so. 6 seems like it would be, you could have longer to talk about items later on, so when it goes to 10, we'd be all right with that.
any other comments?
I think one of the reasons that we were looking at changing it to an earlier time is that city staff, it makes for a really long day for them. I'm ambivalent personally. I could do either, but if it makes life for city staff a little easier, that's great. But I also understand your point of view with having public attendance. There's a lot of people that work outside of Ellsworth, but live in Ellsworth, get out at 5, and it may make it difficult for them to get there.
It's 1 day a month.
Any concerns with the time with the new counselors in terms of either way?
No, I think what Bob says makes sense to me, to make it uniform across.
I like the idea of making it uniform with the other meetings, 6 o'clock.
Okay. So with that, is there, somebody want to make a motion on one of the resolves?
Mr. Chairman, move that the City Council will hold regular council meetings in the City Hall Council Chambers at 6 PM on the 3rd Monday of each month, except for January and February meetings. They shall be held on the 2nd Monday of the month. Should the day of the meetings fall on a holiday or election day, the meeting so scheduled will be held on the prior Monday at the same hour and place as discussed at the June 21st, 2020 regular council meeting.
If you go with that, can you put the date it's going to become effective? Because I've already advertised the November 15th one as 7. So
Oh.
can you just,
Effective as of the December council
Second.
meeting.
You have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? One opposed. The motion passes. Item 5 is time for the agenda to close.
Mr. Chairman, move that I would make a motion, the city council meeting agenda close on Monday noon prior to the regular monthly meeting. If that day falls on a holiday, the agenda will close at noon on the next prior Friday. Is that worded correctly, Heidi? Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Item 6, time for agenda to go to the news media.
Mr. Chairman, I move the city council meeting agenda be delivered to the local news media no later than Monday prior to the regular monthly meeting of the Ellsworth City Council.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Item 7, manner in which meetings are to be conducted.
Mr. Chairman, move that the meetings of the City Council be conducted according to the rules of orders previously adopted by the City Council and shall continue in force until the Monday next following the regular city election pursuant to Article 2, Section 2.07 of the City Charter. Each meeting is to be conducted by Robert's Rules of Order unless otherwise provided for.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. We swapped items 8 and 10, so the new number 8 is consideration on setting a new date and time for the weekly Finance Committee meeting workshop as discussed at the 7/19/2021 council meeting. So I'll open it up for, this is one that we said we would bring back to the organizational meeting for a discussion, so I'll open it up.
And this is currently weekly at 7:15 on Friday.
On
is that-
Fridays.
Yeah, so let me explain a little bit about it, to give so there's two parts to it. One is the Finance Committee is a committee like any other committee, and there are councilors who are assigned to that. Those members are responsible for reviewing the warrant each week and signing off on it so that any of the payables can go out. And so that has to take place. One of the things that has occurred over time is, and that we developed this and it's posted, is also there's a workshop component that provides an opportunity for other discussions of just being, no votes are taken, but it's more of an opportunity to know what's going on in the city. And that's the piece that came up for discussion in terms of not so much the warrant, because the warrant has to be signed, but the workshop component. So that's really what that discussion was previously about, looking at perhaps doing that a little bit differently. And so we said, let's put that forward until this meeting to have that discussion.
And those items can include if there was an equipment breakdown during the week, we would be updated on that. If there was an estimate on the repair, any call it run-of-the-mill, it's not the right term, but activity that has occurred unplanned during the week.
What would some of the options be for that, for other people? Afternoon sometime?
How long does that meeting usually that workshop meeting usually last?
It really does vary. It depends on if there's any burning issues that, it generally, the whole meeting between the warrant, reviewing the warrant and any discussion, generally, we start at about 7:15 or so, and we're usually done by 8, sometimes 8:30, usually at the latest. But
Yeah, I don't know about ever being done by 8.
yeah, well, it depends on
And then on occasion, 3 or 4 times a year, the superintendent will come in and make a financial presentation or any kind of presentation. For instance, it could be a COVID update, and that tends to run long, any of his presentations. If a department head is coming in looking, as we call it, looking for money, then sometimes those presentations can run. But boy, 8 o'clock would be, those are few when they're done by 8.
yeah, if we have lengthier, if it's more of, if it's just the manager updating, going through the
Yeah.
list.
And usually anything that involves employees, because they start at 8 o'clock, that's when their presentation is scheduled for.
Councilor Cap?
The complication is that anyone on the council that works Monday through Friday is not able to attend daytime meetings like that. And so even if, and it also limits whether or not you could even want to be on the finance committee. So having it during business hours, so to speak, limits our ability to actually participate.
But then you get the reverse of what was said a few minutes ago about the employees dragging their day out. If you have it in the evening, then all of a sudden you drag their day out an hour and a half. There is no, in my mind, there is no ideal. It's been Fridays since they invented rocks at 7:15 a.m. And 99% of the time, that works out pretty well. If someone has to leave, let's say I had an 8 o'clock appointment outside of City Hall, then because I'm on the Finance Committee, anything that needs to be discussed via the committee is moved ahead, to before 8 o'clock.
And that includes the workshop?
It depends on what the item is in the workshop. The person, if they have to leave early, they may get a heads up of what's coming up in the workshop. And of course, they can always catch up afterwards. That's never been an issue. The department heads and Glenn are pretty good about, filling people in. So, my fear is that, like I said at I think it was the July meeting, if this gets moved to for instance, a Thursday evening, now you're turning this position into a real job, with another schedule. What with all the extra meetings, special meetings that we have throughout the year, the 5 or 6 budget meetings in the spring, the union negotiations meetings, the numerous union negotiation meetings that have taken place this summer, to throw another scheduled meeting into it, I don't see it working out.
So we're talking about moving both the workshop and the finance committee meeting, or just doing the finance committee meeting on Friday morning still, and if you want to get together to discuss for other things, maybe do that.
Yeah, the finance committee meeting needs to be
Friday
sometime
morning.
on Friday. Not necessarily Friday morning, but I think it has to be before, is there a time that you need all that warrant signed?
No, we can send the checks out whenever you
Yep.
complete them.
So my thoughts, why I even mentioned it in the beginning, is because there's been a few issues that, I don't know, were kind of probably relayed to me wrongly by the newspaper and everywhere else, about things that were talked about when I wasn't present, that I really wanted to be a part of. And I read it in the paper instead of hearing anything about it at all, like the week following. And I really want to be a part of some of the conversations that pertain to some of the really hot items. As far as if a furnace breaks in the school, well, you got to replace the furnace. There's no question there, so there's no sense for me to even go there. And it's got to be done, it's got to be done. But there were things that were discussed that could have been discussed with all of us if we all wanted and chose to be there. But I just can't make it Friday morning. And I won't be able to make it until probably 4:30 in the afternoon on some things. I mean, might be able to push that a little bit, but.
I recall that discussion, Gene, and you're right, that item you're talking about, the Ellsworth American,
Yeah,
they botched that 3 ways to Sunday.
I'm sure. It was a surprise to me. And I said, well, I mean, and
Yeah, I bet it was.
many people, and you're right, you're right, it was 3 ways from Sunday. But many people were emailing me and calling me that day, and they're flipping, and I'm like, I know nothing about it. I read it in the paper the same time you did, you know?
So,
So,
and perhaps another proposal, a way to look at this is that the Finance Committee needs to have a time to meet, to sign the warrant, and then deal, like you said, there are some fiscal things that come up that the Finance Committee weighs in on, and anything that's over Manager Mosier's limit has to come back to the council anyway, the full council. It can't just go to the Finance Committee. But if it's run-of-the-mill kinds of things that he can approve, he'll share that with the committee. So what we could do is go back to, Manager Mosier has a report that he provides each week. And rather than going beyond that in great detail, that is distributed to all counselors. It's reviewed, and if there's some sort of hot button issue that we feel like we need to have a meeting for, we could schedule a special workshop to discuss that, and that would then make it the responsibility of each member to look over that, contact Manager Mosier if you needed more detail about it, and that would give us that kind of, we would all be informed about the same issues.
Right.
And the Finance Committee would go back to just basically addressing the fiscal components and move it from there. And if we find that that isn't working for some reason, we can always revisit this at any time.
Yeah,
I think that's fair.
so do I.
I would be happy with that.
Councilor Hand? Councilor Helen, you okay with that?
I'm very much okay.
All right, so we'll make that change effective immediately.
So it's still Friday mornings at 7:15, is that correct?
Yes, but I think we need to, or was that just a discussion?
Yeah, it was a consideration item.
Okay. Yes, so that would, the Finance Committee, one of the things that will happen between now and our regular meeting, is that I need to gather everybody's interest in terms of committees, and we'll select the Finance Committee, and then the members that are selected for the Finance Committee can talk about if that time works or if there's a problem with it, and we can make that adjustment as needed. So what I would say is that if you have an interest in being on the Finance Committee, don't let that time necessarily prevent you from letting me know that, and then we'll go from there.
Why am I thinking that the Finance Committee was appointed at the organizational meeting?
I think that's
Is it?
number 9. I think.
Number 9.
Oh, it is.
Oh.
That's
Yeah, the one
because
I did-
it's number 9.
Hey, I'm
You
working
switched
between
it.
8 and 10.
Which is why you wanted to move 8 before 9.
Right.
Gotcha.
It's all your fault, anyway.
Yeah, that's smart. Okay, so in the next minute or two, if you could let me know if you have an interest, that would be helpful.
I wish I knew more about it, but I just think there's much smarter people that way here than me that.
Looking at our new members, any interest?
I have an interest in the Finance Committee, yes.
Do you have an interest?
Sure, yeah.
Do you have an interest?
The time, it's exclusive, like I cannot be here during the day on a Friday, so.
All right, I'll figure this out in the next few minutes. We'll take number 8 really slow, or number 10, oh no, we're on 9 minutes. We just finished
We're on
8.
9.
We're on 9.
We're there.
No, yeah.
Time's up.
All right, we'll take a break.
How many members are on the Finance Committee?
There are 3 members and an alternative. stay on that committee or
Yeah.
as the alternate? Okay, I will, for this committee, appoint Councilors Blanchett, Hamilton, and O'Halloran, with Councilor Miller as the alternate. And also, everybody should know that it is an open meeting, obviously, for all councilors to be a part of, so any of the meetings.
It's also a public meeting.
And it's a public meeting, so, no one is prevented from participating in those meetings. And so that's the appointment, and as far as the time, Friday morning at 7:15, does that work? Okay. So we'll follow what we just talked about as the process. Okay.
And one other thing that sometimes goes on at the finance meetings that everyone should know, every now and then we're, how shall I say this, regaled with the antics of the Mosier family and what's going on with them. So sometimes it's pretty good.
I think that's mutual.
Moving on to item 10. All right. Item 10, council stipend and the manner of its distribution. Maximum allowable stipend is $3,000 for the chair and $2,400 for councilors. Amount budgeted for FY 2022 is $2,500 for the chair and $2,000 for each councilor.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the stipend does not change. We go with the $2,500 for the chair and $2,000 for each councilor.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Item 11, signing of warrants.
Are they going to do the distribution?
Oh, yes, and that should be distributed at the next available warrant. And I know that some paperwork will be needed by the new counselors, so. Is that with you, Josh? Did you connect with? Oh.
It's in the workbooks that they.
Oh, it is, okay. All right, item 11 is signing of warrants. Is there anything we need to?
The warrant directed treasurer for payment be signed by the city manager, and are you doing 3 members?
Yes. Do you want to?
Move that the warrants directed to the treasurer for payment be signed by the city manager and 3 members of the finance committee.
It's a motion.
Second?
I have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Item 12. This one we should be able to get right.
Can we go back to
Yes, we can.
the signing of the warrants? It just dawned on me that the motion said 3. What do we want to do when, especially in the summer when someone's not here on vacay? Okay, you'll come in and, okay. That works.
Okay, before we adjourn the meeting, just a reminder that we are going to have an onboarding presentation here immediately following. So with that said, item 12, is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? We are adjourned.